dear readers. I'm Lori, and welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm so glad you're here. It's a beautiful sunny morning. In fact, it's so sunny I had to close the curtains a little bit because it was a little too bright, which doesn't usually happen. Today, I'm sharing my April book haul, and this is a really incredible book haul, and maybe a different book haul than you're expecting, because I went 27 days in this month without purchasing a single book. Not an ebook, not a hardback book, not a thrift store book. I did really, really well. I was trying for a low or no buy, and I feel like I was pretty successful. I purchased 2 books this month, and one of them actually I didn't purchase, but I'm including it in the haul because my partner purchased it, but I do intend to read it. But together we purchased 2 books. And honestly, if it hadn't been Independent Bookstore Day, I might have made it. I'm sure I would have made it the whole month. Now, here's the reason for my low or no buy. At the moment, we are in transition between selling this house, hopefully soon, and purchasing a new home that we have found. And so we're really just mindful of the number of books we currently have and the effort it will take to move them, and also trying to minimize the clutter as we're showing the home. So it's a very deliberate low or no buy, but there's lots of reasons people choose to do a low or no buy. Sometimes they're financial, sometimes they are just wanting to read the books off your shelf, or just to try to see if you can do it as a challenge. It was a challenge for me, but I feel like I did pretty well. So here are the books that I hauled into my home this month. You may have seen another video that I recorded. It was about a trip to my little free library. So while I was getting rid of 10 books, or I think it was only 5. I think in my mind it felt like 10, but it was only 5. I think I got rid of 5 books in my little free libraries and an unhaul, and I acquired a couple others. So this is a nonfiction work about the actual castle that Downton Abbey was filmed in, and it's called Lady Almina and the Real Downton Abbey, The Lost Legacy of Highclere Castle by the Countess of Carnarvon. And it was in the little free library that we created, my partner and I. And this has been on my list, so I definitely picked something up that I had intended to read and just hadn't purchased. Had seen it at a couple of stores, but hadn't picked it up yet. But here it is, and it was free, so that is lovely. If you're not familiar with little free libraries, I encourage you to look at that video. I'll link it below. Hopefully I'll remember. Sometimes I say I will link those old videos below, and I'm not sure that I remember to do that. Okay. Another book I found in my little free library is an exclusive collector's edition of Wonder by R.J. Palacio. It's a signed copy as well. So that was quite a haul for me. I'm excited about that. This is one of my granddaughter's favorite books, and it's one of mine as well. We purchased it for her a couple of years ago, and I read it and loved it. We all read it, I think. And then we all went to see the movie. But I love that this is a signed first edition copy, and I might share this one with her and swap for the one that she got, that we purchased for her. I'm not sure yet. Nevertheless, it's always nice to have a signed copy. It is interesting that it was in the little free library, and I appreciate whoever unhauled this because I was delighted to get it. So right after the little free library haul, I was listening to or reading, I was listening to a book, and I wanted to also be able to read it. Now, I may share a video at some point about how I read and how I feel like I read most effectively and efficiently. But today, let's just suffice it to say, I had an Audible copy of this book, and I wanted the hardback as well. So I went to my library. So this is my library haul. Of course, these will not stay permanently in my collection, and that's really okay. For the most part, I'll tell you why in a minute. But the one I finished this month is An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I had read The Wife Between Us last year, really enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to this one. And when it came out, I think my daughter purchased it with her Audible credit, and I listened to part of it. And as I said, finished this. I finished it pretty quickly, and I think I gave it, yeah, I did. I gave it 4 stars. It was very fast paced and very compelling. If you hadn't heard of An Anonymous Girl, it's a story about a young makeup artist who's struggling a little bit financially and trying to support her family in some ways. And she stumbles upon an opportunity to be included in a study of moral and ethical behavior at a college in New York. And she decides to do that. And what happens is really surprising to me, and pretty well developed, I would say. So I really did enjoy this, and I gave it 4 stars. So I will be taking this one back to the library very soon. The other one I got from the library is Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This was recommended by several booktubers, including Sarah Swan. I think Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library read it. A lot of people have been talking about this middle grade book and comparing it a little bit to Harry Potter. So I was intrigued, and I read this book in 2 days. It's a pretty hefty little book for a middle grade novel. It's over 460 pages. It is a fantasy story about a girl who was born on Eventide, and girls who are born in Eventide don't live past their, I think, 11th birthday. And on her birthday, soon to come to her birthday, she receives a bid to go to an advanced learning experience. And cursed children are not supposed to receive bids, but she does receive not only one, but several bids, one of which is from a man named Jupiter North. That's all I'm going to tell you about this book, except I gave it 10 stars. In Lori Land, you can give a book 10 stars on occasion if you feel like it, and I do. It is so incredibly fast-paced, beautifully, sweetly written. I absolutely adored this book, and I absolutely agree it gave me the Harry Potter feels. Are there some similarities? Yeah, a couple. Are there lots of differences? Yes, there are. So I have since given this to my partner to read, and I think my daughter is also going to listen to it starting today, maybe. Thrilled with this book. Do intend to purchase this. Just a matter of time before I do. And gift it to my granddaughter. Oh, she would love it. The next one I just started a couple of pages of it. I haven't gotten far in. I'm having a little struggle because I got so many books from the library. I'm having a bit of a struggle trying to figure out what to read next. But this is 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. And what happened was I had no intention of getting this one. The other 2 were on my list of books to acquire when I went to the library, but this one was sitting there and actually was on my to-read list. I love Liane Moriarty, and it's a pretty new release and pretty popular. So the fact that it was on the shelf the day I went in made me think, oh, I could probably fly through this pretty quickly. And I think I can once I finish what I have going on now. I'll be doing a what I read video soon, but I had a really good reading month. I really absolutely have enjoyed the reading that I've done, and I had a couple of readathons that really spurred me on. Anyway, 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. All I know about this is that 9 people go to a wellness spa, and as is in typical Liane Moriarty fashion, I'm sure there's lots of personal angst and lots of things may be revealed. I'm not sure if there's sometimes there's a murder or a death in her novels. I'm not sure if there is in this one. I haven't read a whole lot about it. Honestly, Liane Moriarty is one of those authors that I don't care so much what they're about. I read them regardless. So I definitely got lucky and picked that up. I was actually on the waiting list for the audio and ebook version because it's been pretty popular. But again, I was just surprised that that was available. And then I also picked up Bird Box by Josh Mallerman. This is a pretty short novel as well. I did watch the show on Netflix, the movie on Netflix. So I've already seen the movie prior to reading the book, but I definitely want to take a look. I've heard it's well done. And then he has a couple other books that I'd like to read as well. But this too was sitting on the shelf, and it isn't often available nowadays. And so I took advantage of that. Now, on Independent Bookseller Day, I happened to be in New Orleans for a symposium, and so my daughter and my partner and I all joined together to visit Octavia Books, which is a great little independent bookstore in the city, and it is off of Octavia and Lauren, I think. Anyway, if you're in this area and you want to take a look, I do like Octavia Books a lot. They didn't necessarily have a lot that I could see in terms of stuff going on for Independent Bookseller Day, but I don't care. I really don't. I will say Tubby and Coos, which is another one of my favorite bookstores in New Orleans, decided not to have an Independent Bookseller Day celebration because it's also Jazz Fest, and so they're going to have an event on May 11th, I think, so I may go back for that. But when I went to Octavia, there were about 10 different books I could have chosen from on my list that they had there. It's always just so exciting to see books that you want to read on the shelves. And I found a couple that I didn't even realize had been published. But here's what I settled on. The sequel to Nevermore, Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Yes, Nevermore was so good that I cannot wait to read book 2. This one came out in October of 2018. Nevermore came out the year before in 2017, the end of October. So they are spaced about a year apart. Someone asked me if there will be others, and I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea. But this one is definitely about the same chunkiness. It's 525 pages, although it is a smaller in size book. It is a middle grade, and I can't wait to see what happens with Morgan and Jupiter and all of the other characters I have come to love. Can't wait. So excited. Octavia had 2 copies, and I've taken 1. And then my partner picked up a book I've never heard of, but I am intrigued and do plan to read it. It's called The Relic Master by Christopher Buckley. I love this cover. Now, Christopher Buckley is typically a satirist, and usually his works have run along the political satire vein, but apparently he's decided that politics has become so bizarre that he needed to take a different tack. And so he has written a book about Dismas, who is a relic hunter in 1517 and procures religious relics. And he partners with one of his artists because one of his clients, a cardinal, is really interested in the Shroud of Christ. And so he thinks, well, we could create a Shroud of Christ. And so they do create a burial shroud, and they sell it to this guy, but he discovers what they did, and so then he sends them off on an adventure to actually find the Shroud of Christ. And it does sound like it's funny and also a bit based in a true historical character. And it says it's for fans of Christopher Moore. People who like Christopher Moore would like Christopher Buckley. So we're going to give it a shot. And it's a nice book. I just like it. It just invites me to take a look. I also acquired an advanced reader's copy and ebook version of a book coming out in September called The Long Call by Anne Cleves. It's a mystery, and the reviews are comparing her to Louise Penny and some other authors. This book features a detective, Matthew Venn, who is in town in the community where he lived for his dad's funeral, and while he's there, a body is found, and he's called to help with the investigation. And so pretty clear-cut murder mystery, but a new author to me, and I have till September to read it and review it, so that's always good, and I'm looking forward to that. I also acquired All This I Will Give to You by Dolores Redondo. This was one of 3 books that I acquired on World Book Day that were free from Amazon. If you didn't know, every World Book Day yearly, Amazon and other booksellers offer some free international books for you to discover some new authors. And this year, I think there are usually 6 or 8 that are offered this year. I only downloaded 3. But All This I Will Give to You, Dolores Redondo, was translated by Michael Meigs. Dolores is from Spain, and this is a murder mystery about a man whose husband is killed in a car accident, and he goes to the scene of the place that his husband died and discovers this unassuming man that he was married to had a whole nother life, and it is quite a shock to him. Yeah, I had to pick that up. And again, it was free and it fit into my no buy April plan. So I can't wait to take a look at this as well. It is translated into 18 languages, and Goodreads explains in the or no, I think actually Kindle explains in the description of the book and the author that it is also optioned for either a television series or a movie. So stay tuned for that. I will do a follow-up video on that when it comes out. I love this cover. I love anything that sort of draws you into a pathway or a tunnel or a series of archways into a home, and so that it was a cover purchase as well as the description really compelled me to take a look. Another book I purchased for free on World Book Day is The Dark Heart by Joachim Palmqvist. Joachim Palmqvist, I think. This is translated by Agnes Broom. Joachim is a crime writer in Sweden, a very famous true crime writer, and this book is the story of a true crime. A millionaire farm owner is found murdered in 2012, and I think he's found murdered, but there's little evidence and the case is not solved. And then at some point, his daughter calls the authorities and says that she believes her sister was involved in the murder of her father. And again, I love this one. Look at the path of trees that draws you in into this farm, probably, or into the forest. So terribly excited to take a look at that. It's a true story of greed, murder, and an unlikely investigator. And the last book I acquired on World Book Day is The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia. This is a Mexican author, and it's been translated by Simon Bruni. I'm going to read you the synopsis for this novel. From a beguiling voice in Mexican fiction comes an astonishing novel, her first to be translated into English, about a mysterious child with the power to change a family's history in a country on the verge of revolution. From the day that old Nana Reja found a baby abandoned under the bridge, the life of a small Mexican town forever changed. Disfigured and covered in a blanket of bees, little Si Manocchio is for some locals the stuff of superstition, a child kissed by the devil. But he is welcomed by landowners Francisco and Beatriz Morales, who adopt him and care for him as if he were one of their own. As he grows up, Si Manocchio becomes a cause for wonder to the Morales family, because when the uncannily gifted child closes his eyes, he can see what no one else can. Visions of all that's yet to come, both beautiful and dangerous. Followed by his protective swarm of bees and living to deliver his adoptive family from threats, both human and those of nature, Si Manocchio's purpose in Linares will, in time, be divined. Terribly excited to take a look at that. I think it's historical fiction set in the early 1900s, and I think that was a great book haul on World Book Day. And again, they were all free. Now, they are free for a limited time, so I don't know that they are anymore. But every year when you kind of take a look at World Book Day coming up, just take a look at Amazon, and they will have a number of foreign authors that you may never have heard of. And I have found over the years that those are incredibly gifted authors that I'm excited to have been given the opportunity to read. I hope you enjoyed this preview at my April book haul. I can't say for sure when I'm going to get to some of these, but I am just excited. I think May will be a little bit more of a mood read month for me. I did do a couple of readathons, and as I said, I will recap those in the next couple of days. April is almost over, and so I don't know if I'm going to do any readathons in May. I just might let things kind of flow because I am feeling drawn to certain things that maybe wouldn't fit within categories. So we'll see. You never know. I might change my mind. And that's the beauty of being able to read whatever it is that you want to read, whatever mood you're in, whatever day it is. You get to pick up a different book and choose. I will see you soon. I'll have some reviews on what I read this month. I may do a separate review just for Nevermore and Wondersmith because they are so amazing, and I really want to share those with you. So stay tuned. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you would do that. Give this page a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and click the bell notification at the top of the page so that you will get notified when there are new videos. As always, thanks again for joining me, for your support, your comments. I love them all, and happy reading today. Bye.